Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the dock.
Right now, the officer's hand hovered near his belt, fingers twitching toward his utility gear, when instinct took over, and I started laughing. Not the kind of nervous chuckle that trickles out when things get awkward. No, this was deep, involuntary laughter erupting from the belly, the kind that bubbles up only after the universe delivers a perfect, cosmic joke. You see, 30 seconds before this moment, Delilah Whitmore, the impeccable queen of Pine Lake Estates, was shouting across the water, her voice vibrating with indignation. She accused me of trespassing, claimed I didn't belong on Lake Reserve land, and unleashed the kind of tone that only the truly entitled can perfect, sharp enough to crack glassware and delicate egos. Now she was watching me from her pristine waterfront patio, arms folded like a judgmental gargoyle waiting for the cops to haul me off like some outlaw who'd wandered into the wrong neighborhood. Here's what she didn't know. I wasn't trespassing. I wasn't even close. Because about 30 minutes prior, I had officially become the legal owner of every drop of water their million-dollar homes depended on. That's right, I didn't just buy property near their gated utopia. I now held the legal deed to the lake's entire water access, the very thing they all paid a premium for. It flowed from my land. Funny how things work out. 3 months ago, I was just a 52-year-old retired electrician named Rex Thornton, sitting in a too-quiet house in Denver, wrestling with Clara's life insurance policy and trying to figure out what the hell came next. Clara, my wife and my lightning rod, had passed away last year after a long fight against cancer. Even now, the scent of lavender and antiseptic lingered in the hallway, old ghosts hiding in air vents and curtains. So when a certified letter arrived, announcing the death of Uncle Jasper, my dad's reclusive older brother who had lived on a remote Montana lake for decades, I didn't think much of it. We weren't close. Still, every year without fail, he sent me a birthday card with a crisp $20. Now his estate included a lake reserve parcel with specified territorial water rights going up for public auction. Opening bid, $150,000. I had no idea what territorial water rights even meant. But with $180,000 from Clara's policy sitting untouched in the bank, I figured maybe it was time to take a chance she would have encouraged. Risk was never my style, but Clara, she was always the one finding magic in chaos. So I bid. I won, and the moment I laid eyes on Pine Lake, I knew this was no ordinary investment. The highway evaporated behind me as I drove up the winding roads into Montana's mountain air. No traffic, no noise but the wind. Just miles away from reality. Compared to Denver's haze, this crisp, pine-scented atmosphere felt like breathing for the first time again. The auction wasn't held at some courthouse. It took place on the property itself. I expected a couple of acres and maybe a half-rotted shack. What I got was 3 lush acres wrapped around the clearest water I'd ever seen. Seriously, you could peer 15 feet down and count stones. The rustic 1960s cabin sat peacefully under the pines. And the dock? Handmade, every plank of it laid by my late uncle's calloused hands. That's what I paid $150K for. But here's what the auctioneer neglected to explain. The land I bought sat right at the core of an affluent lakefront development, Pine Lake Estates, a high-end community of 47 luxury homes boasting private lake access as their golden promise. Their marketing team must have printed pristine and exclusive more times than the words have appeared in a thesaurus. Turns out, that fancy development was built like a necklace of wealth circling my little parcel. What I had acquired wasn't just a little cabin with a view. I had unknowingly purchased the source, the lake reserve, and with it, complete control over the natural springs that fed their precious, exclusive lake. Enter Delilah Whitmore, HOA royalty, who strutted onto my lot one morning as I was patching the dock, waving around a clipboard like it granted her law enforcement powers. No knock, no introduction. Just an artificial smile and a tone sharper than a freshly honed chisel. "Welcome to Pine Lake Estates," she declared, dressed in yoga gear that probably cost more than my truck's last 2 oil changes. "I'm Delilah, president of the Homeowners Association. We need to address some community compliance concerns." The fresh scent of cut cedar filled the air as she rattled off a list of so-called violations. You'd think I was running a meth lab instead of fixing a dock. Apparently, my new dock exceeded some arbitrary setback. It didn't match community aesthetics. Didn't align with the architectural guidelines established for shared lake access. Funny thing that, it wasn't shared. It was mine. I bought this property at a public auction with a clean title, I said, brushing the sawdust off my arms. Maybe let me catch up on what I own before you come around measuring things that don't belong to your HOA. Her upper lip twitched. Mr. Thornton, Pine Lake Estates isn't a trailer park. Homes here average 1.2 in value. We have standards, expectations. She meant it like a warning. I took it like a dare. 3 days later, Delilah returned, with backup. This time she had a state environmental inspector in tow. Introduced him as Dale. The guy looked like he had lost a bet and was paying off the debt in awkward favors. His polo shirt boasted a crooked state seal. His clipboard looked more decorative than official, and his tape measure looked like it had been swiped from the clearance bin at a hardware store. Delilah beamed, narrating like we were filming an infomercial. Dale here is conducting an environmental compliance check.
Pine Lake sets high ecological preservation standards. Dale made himself at home, taking photos of my dock and shoreline like he was David Attenborough documenting the elusive dock lizard. His questions were odd. How deep's this water? You doing any major construction? Noticed any ducks acting? Strange.
The man grilled a mallard like it was a Cold War spy. Something stank, and it wasn't the duck. Then I spotted Dale's vehicle. A Ford F-150 with decorative script reading Dale's Fine Furniture, We Deliver Dreams. Right. So while Dale continued filming fish and scribbling in a notepad that likely said, "Water is wet," I made a quick call to the Montana DEQ, just checking, anyone named Dale supposed to be inspecting Pine Lake today? The lady's confusion was immediate and genuine. No inspections scheduled. And no Dale on our staff. With her voice on speaker, I turned to Dale. That name sounded like a stun grenade. He froze, paled, then bolted, his clipboard hitting the ground in panic as he sprinted for his floral furniture truck like his life depended on it. He peeled out, but not before dropping his ID, a cheap laminated mock-up worthy of a middle school project. Delilah ever-composed smoothed down her Lulu jacket and said, "That proves what I've been saying. You're combative. Hostile toward inspectors. Not safe." The audacity was nearly admirable. "Lady, your cousin just impersonated a state official. That's a felony, not a design violation." Her eyes narrowed, and I caught a glimpse of something darker. "A threat disguised in community concern. That property shouldn't be in the hands of some outsider. It belongs to this community. It was never meant to be yours." That night, I emailed a real estate attorney and asked her to double-check my title. She called me back 3 hours later. "Mr. Thornton, I don't think you realize what you bought. You didn't just get lakefront land. You now legally control the spring system that supplies water to the entire Pine Lake Estates community. It was official. Delilah Whitmore had just declared war on the man who owned her kingdoms. Only well. 2 days after that revelation about my water rights, a thick, urgent-looking envelope appeared in my mailbox. Certified mail, full letterhead. Red ink screamed emergency legal notice across the top. The contents? Pure manipulation. Delilah was publicly convening an urgent council session with the homeowners. An emergency meeting about a threat to Pine Lake's legal water access. Apparently, my ownership posed a risk to their property values and way of life. Her strategy? Get all 47 homeowners to pool money into a lawsuit, forcing me to reconsider my rights and sell the land back. Yeah. Nice try. I was rereading her veiled threat when a dusty old Chevy rolled into my drive. Out stepped a guy built like a mountain but moved like a fisherman. "Rex Thornton?" "Yeah," I replied. "Name's Garrett Flynn. I'm a surveyor and part-time fly fishing guide. Heard the HOA's cooking up a siege about your water access. Montana's a small place." Word travels fast. Turns out Garrett owned the only other non-HOA property with independent lake access. Lived down the stream in a converted boathouse, and had been at war with Delilah for years. She'd been trying to force him out for just as long. We ended up talking on my porch for hours. Coffee, canned peaches, survey maps spread like treasure before us. Garrett's eyes sparkled as he scrolled through old Montana land records, tracing old territorial water codes back to 1887. Then his voice dropped. "Rex, I don't think you understand what you've got here. You don't just own the lakefront. You control everything feeding that lake. It all originates from under your soil, I blinked. Sipped coffee. Felt my stomach cramp around the implications. Garrett walked me through the maps, thin blue veins of spring water connecting my land to every mansion hugging the water line. And here's the kicker. The developers who built those homes in the 90s never secured official water rights. They assumed the lake was public. The territorial law said otherwise. My hands went numb. Every lakefront owner had been using my water without even knowing they needed permission. Delilah knew. Oh, she knew. That's why her next move came at 2:30 a.m. Her son, Bradley, creeping around my property with bolt cutters, a spray can and a phone caught crystal clear on Garrett's hidden trail cams. Yeah, Mom, I'm painting the dock now. $2,000, right? You said to go bolder this time. We had video, audio, visual confirmation of HOA-funded vandalism. The message painted across my cedar dock in shaky red letters, "Trespasser, go home." The next morning, I found Bradley nursing a coffee at the local cafe. I slid into the booth across from him. His eyes twitched. Hands shook. Hey, Bradley, you sleep okay? He refused eye contact, so I pulled out my phone. Hit play. Yeah, Mom, I'm almost done with the doc. His face crumbled like dry plaster. The kid panicked. Unspooled everything. How Delilah had been harassing outsider homeowners for years. Fabricated violations, staged code crackdowns, fake complaints, property damage, until they were pressured into selling. Below market rate. And who bought those properties dirt cheap? Delilah's real estate firm, a pattern. A business model built on intimidation and control. I didn't feel sorry for him. Not really, because I remembered how my breath caught in my throat when I saw Uncle Jasper's hand-built dock defiled. When I realized someone had tried to destroy the only thing I had left of him, I looked Bradley in the eyes and said, "Your mom's not running a community here. She's running a scam, and now I had the proof to burn it down." That weekend, I finally forced myself to explore Uncle Jasper's basement. It was part storage dungeon, part conspiracy library. Dust clung to everything. Pipes creaked. But the filing cabinets along one entire wall, labeled with Jasper's obsessive precision. Decades worth of legal correspondence, property maps, and court decisions about, water rights. In a folder labeled 1994 Developer Disputes, I found something that stopped me cold. A handwritten letter. Margaret, developers never filed for legal water access. My 1887 deed controls every spring feeding Pine Lake. I don't mind sharing, but folks need to know what the law says before someone tries to take what doesn't belong to them. Jasper. Typed and clipped to the note was a card from one Margaret Sawyer, survey consultant. I called, fingers trembling. She answered, gruff, sharp, efficient. Jasper finally passed, huh? She said, voice softer than expected. Hell of a guy. What can I do for you? I explained the situation, the property. The war brewing, her reply. Son, you didn't inherit a shack. You inherited the throttle that controls Pine Lake's existence. You have irrefutable legal control of every gallon they drink, bathe in, and sail over. I asked her what that meant in practical terms. Her answer? Water access fees, usage permits, regulation and conservation. And if you wanted to, complete termination of community supply. Jasper had held all this in his hands for decades and chose not to wield it. He'd lived quietly, generously, protecting what mattered. I stood in that basement, breathing sawdust and shock, the full weight of the deed sitting in my chest. That night, I met with Garrett and Maya to plan across Uncle Jasper's old work table. We had documentation, video, audio, local knowledge, legal precedent, public auction deed, 137 years of law. As Maya leafed through the files, her eyes lit up. These water rights trump everything, Rex. HOA rules, public easements, doesn't matter. You own the source, pipeline, and distribution rights. The whole damn watershed. By Monday morning, Maya had filed formal notices at the county clerk's office. And Delilah? She was about to choke on the false power she thought she had, because on Tuesday, 47 certified envelopes hit Pine Lake mailboxes, demanding $847 per household, monthly. Due in 30 days. Effective immediately, Maya even named the new trustee fund. The Clara Thornton Memorial Water Trust. Because this was no longer about revenge, it was about legacy, peacefully.
Disrupting an empire built on intimidation and honoring the woman
Who'd want me to use power responsibly,
even when it came wrapped inside a legal sledgehammer.